Hey guys, Griffey from thenerdcave.com here today, and I'm going to be bringing you a video review for the free-to-play MMORPG Wakfu. So you'll notice that I'm starting out by showing you some various wallpapers and some of the artwork from Wakfu, and immediately it sort of screams Asian Japanese, but in fact it's actually made by a French company called Ankama. Wakfu was released in February 2012. It is compatible for both PC and Mac. And initially, the North American publisher was none other than Square Enix. However, due to the recent downsizing and the restructuring at Square Enix, they have passed the publishing rights back over to the parent company, Ankama. According to the Wakfu community, this is actually a good thing. It's a step in the right direction. So with that being said, we will go ahead and get on with the review. And I just want to stop for a second and talk a little bit about the artwork in Wakfu. If you haven't noticed yet, it's absolutely stunning. I mean, I fell in love with it from the very instant that I logged in. And you'll see this beautiful art throughout the entire game, even in the game world. So hopefully this review will do it a little justice and let you guys see just how gorgeous this game actually is. So let's go ahead and create a new character. So this is your character creation screen. Over on the left you have your class selection. You also have the option of male or female. And if you click the classes here, you'll notice that it gives you a brief description over on the right side of what the class type is. You do have your typical tanks, healers, DPS, and they got pretty unique with some of the names here. If you notice, this one for example is Sedita Shoe. You reverse that, it actually says Adidas. So the devs have a great sense of humor. They're constantly referencing social media, entertainment. There's lots of little Easter eggs out there, even in the tutorial, so just keep an eye out for those. Really humorous. You have really not a whole lot of choices as far as character customization goes. You do have skin color, hair color, and then eye color. You have the option of 3 different hairstyles and 5 different outfits. Okay, so here we are past the tutorial in the starter area, and we are actually in the game world. So one of the first things that I like to do with any game that I start is immediately open up the options panel and sort of customize everything to my liking. So that's the first thing I'm going to show you, and you'll notice that there are not really a lot of options, just your standard sliders and so forth. And if we go over to video, you have 3 different levels of detail here. And if you notice in the background as I slide this up and down, it doesn't necessarily change the detail level, it just adds and subtracts items to your screen. So go ahead and select on max, resume game, and then now I'll go over the user interface a little bit and sort of elaborate on some of the menu items down here. But just starting on the left here, if we click this arrow, it's going to bring up your quest tracking. You can choose to hide or show that, and then if you click this little button here, it's going to bring up the actual full quest text and description. And as you read through some of these quests and some of the spell descriptions and really just anything in the game, you'll notice right away that it's real easy to tell that it's not an English game. The translation was not very good, but you know, that's not really a big deal. In fact, it sort of adds to the appeal for me. Close this and we'll just continue on here. We have the chat window, which is pretty typical. You can add new tabs, customize your colors, move that anywhere on the screen, resize it. Pretty standard chat panel there. And then here on the bottom we have our menu items. And I'm just going to start from the left here and go all the way across and try my best to elaborate on some of these. And guys, please keep in mind that I didn't have a whole lot of playtime before I wrote this review. So if some of the details that I'm giving you are not accurate, then please forgive me and correct me in the comments. So we'll open this one up, and it's going to bring up our character sheet. And you'll notice right away that there are tons of secondary skills, tons of primary skills. And, Wakfu at first glance, it is sort of a cartoonish game. It sort of looks like a child's game, but it's definitely not lacking in content or material. In fact, when I first logged into the game and I was looking over some of these menus, it was a little overwhelming. There's so much information to take in. So we'll close that up. Our next tab here is going to be our spell panel, and these are all the spells that you have, and you'll notice that they're classified in different elemental schools, and I believe there are 5 of those. We have air, fire, earth, water, and stasis, I believe. And each class does have 25 unique spells, 15 of which will fall under the elemental schools, and the other 10 will fall under support spells. The elemental spells are unlocked simply by using them, and they're leveled up by using them, whereas the support spells are unlocked using skill points that you've earned by leveling your character up. Next we have our inventory here, and you see that we have tons of inventory slots, just as any major MMO would have. Again, they didn't slacken that area. And we have your backpack area just to the right of that. We have professions next, and again, you'll notice they didn't cut corners with crafting. There's 11 different professions and 6 different gathering skills. If we hover over these real quick, they are pretty standard crafting skills: tailor, jeweler, leatherworking, and so forth. But it's nice to see that, among other things, they kept the crafters in mind when they made the game. Close that up real quick. Next we have our community tab. There are 3 different tabs on here. We have our character list, a guild. Obviously I'm not in a guild, so I can't really elaborate on that too much. And then we have politics. I don't know a whole lot about politics, but I did do a little bit of reading, and apparently players can actually earn citizenship points, and they can use those points to be elected to actual government positions. Like, you can be the governor, and then there are various other political positions, and the voting is actually done by the players, so that's really neat. You know, I've heard of political systems in games before. I've never actually played one, but you know, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Our next tab we have here is quest management, and again you have three more tabs here. We have our quest book, which I've already elaborated on. We have the achievements. Total, it looks like we have 148. I don't know if maybe you can unlock more at some other point in the game, but 148 is really not that much. But again, it's nice to see that they at least have achievements in the game. And then the next tab is dungeons. And you'll notice here that it looks like there's a level requirement for these dungeons, level 75. Obviously I haven't gotten that high, but I am excited to get to try those dungeons out. And the next tab we have here is our Haven bag, actually. Yeah, I'm really excited about this. Again, I don't know a whole lot about it, but I did do a little bit of reading, and apparently this is sort of like a player housing / vendor type system. You'll notice as I walk in here, there are various stations here where people can work on their trade skills, and then you have, I believe it's this shelf right here, where you can actually put items up for sale, so that when you log out, people can come by your haven and browse your items and, you know, purchase things if they like. So really neat little system there. So we'll go ahead and go out here, and then the last tab is the world map. Wasn't really impressed with the world map. It's, as you can see, it's not very detailed. You do have some standard options here. You can sort points of interest to hide or show those, and then over here you do have, you can add a little question mark, you can add a point of interest. And I noticed that there are looks like empty slots here, so I don't know if at some point in the future you can actually unlock more little tokens to bring out here, but it certainly looks like it. So not the best map system, but definitely not the worst that I've seen either. And then just to the right of that you have your spell bar here, and you can drag and drop your spells onto that. Use them via hotkey or by clicking. And then we have a little tab here which is going to change the spell bar over to an emote bar. The interesting thing about emotes is that they're actually unlocked in this game rather than just given to you, and they're unlocked in various ways. Exploration, you know, finding secret chests, things of that nature. So that's really neat. Close that up, and as we go over to the right side here, you have your mini-map, which you can move anywhere on the screen. The almanacs, which is basically a calendar, and I think these appear to be daily quests. Close that up, and then obviously the time of day. And that's pretty much it for the user interface. Okay, so the last major area that I want to cover is probably the most important, and it's definitely what sets Wakfu apart from other MMOs, and that is the combat system. Wakfu actually features a very in-depth turn-based combat system, and you'll begin by approaching an enemy, and you'll notice if I hover over these guys, it's going to tell me not only their level, but how many of these guys are going to be in the encounter. So we'll notice that there are 2 different enemies here. So what I want to do, just for the sake of the review, is find a guy by himself. It looks like this guy is very low level and by himself, so I'm going to go ahead and attack this guy. And it's going to start by bringing you to an instance phase. The very beginning is a placement phase with the blue areas indicating where you can go. And being ranged, I want to get as far away as possible. You also have your placement arrows here so that you can turn to the direction of your enemy. And then also over here on the right side, you'll notice that there is a constant timer ticking down. So you really can't take too much time, not only in the placement phase, but during your turn as well. So we'll start out here. Let me jump a few phases, but before I do that, if you look here where my cursor is at the very bottom, you have 3 different resource types. The green one being movement points. So I have 3 of those total, which means I can move 3 squares away, turn and face the enemy. And again, we still have the timer going over here, so I need to go hurry up and use my spells before the time ends. There we go. Now it's going to be the cat's turn. And then one thing I want to point out is you see the spells here. They all do consume different types of resources. And let's see, if I use these really quickly, if you're really fast and you don't have any resources left, you can actually hit the end turn button here. And that will automatically let the next guy go, which speeds up the fight a little bit. I'm going to move away here, and while I still have some time left on the clock, I'll go over a few of the buttons down here. You have give up, which means you can basically end the fight, forfeit. Transparent fighters, which I think just takes away some of the elements. And then you can call out to your team, point of interest, I guess, if you have other teammates in the fight with you. So again, my timer's about to end, so I'll just go ahead and let that expire. So let's move away here a few spots. And again, I can usually get, oh damn, doesn't look like I'm within range. I can't hit the cat. Let's try a different spell. There we go. So, and I can actually get a couple of these in each turn. And on the right side here, depending on whose turn it is going to show their resources as well as their HP. And you'll see as soon as I end this turn, it is going to go to the cat, at which point it will show his resources and his HP. So I'm just about to finish this guy off. Should only take me a few more turns. Looks like he's at 8 HP. Again, if you're fast, fights can go very quickly. Now these pop up occasionally. These random things will pop up here, and I think it's just a reaction thing. If you click fast enough, you get some sort of added bonus, I believe. I'm not real sure, to be honest with you. So we'll move, and this guy shouldn't have all. He has 4 HP left, so I should be able to finish him off in this turn. Yes, I did, and you'll notice after the fight that there's sort of a fight summary where you can click this button and it will show your advancement of your spell, and then you have an experience button, the total amount of experience that you gain, and then of course fight loot. And that's a very, very brief description of the combat. Obviously it does get very complex, and there's a lot of things that I didn't cover, but hopefully I hit some of the high points and you have a general understanding of how combat works in Wakfu. Okay guys, that pretty much does it. That was my very first video game review. Obviously I didn't cover everything. Wakfu is an amazingly beautiful and very in-depth game, but hopefully if you're new to Wakfu, you're thinking about playing, or if this is your first time ever seeing Wakfu, you found this review useful. And if you have played Wakfu in the past, or you're currently playing, feel free to comment and correct any details that I may or may not have butchered. And then, of course, feedback on the review itself is very much appreciated. Be sure to check out the rest of the content on our website, thenerdcave.com, and thank you guys for watching.